is Andy Liggett. This is Andy Walks With Me, and we are here in Matthew chapter 12. So Matthew chapter 12 starts off with Jesus' disciples are walking through the grain fields on the Sabbath, and they are just kind of eating the wheat. You know, they'll just kind of take the wheat off the off the wheat. You know, they'll take the top off the wheat and they'll just kind of shake it around. They'll eat it. You know, they were hungry, and the Pharisees saw this, and in the Pharisees' rules that they made, this was unlawful. You're not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath. So Jesus says to them, do you remember in the Old Testament where it says that David's men were hungry and they went into the temple? Now in the temple they have this bread. It's like the show bread. David and his men were hungry, probably very hungry, and there was no other food. And so the priests came in and were like, well, why don't you eat the showbread? And so they did. And they weren't stoned to death for it. You know, it wasn't a big deal. Jesus is telling them, you guys are being more legalistic than, you know, the chief priest back in the time of David. He said, I am the Lord of the Sabbath. And that's a really interesting thing to say. I'll explain what I think he means by it. He's pointing out that, you know, in the future he's going to die. And God made the Sabbath holy for a reason. And it's interesting to me that, you know, some people think that Jesus might have died on Thursday, that it wasn't Good Friday but Good Thursday, and that very well may be. I have been told by a Hebrew scholar that this wouldn't have been a big deal in the Hebrew. Any part of a day would be considered a day and a night, and it was just a Hebraism. So Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath because he was dead all day on Saturday, which is probably why God made the Sabbath holy from the beginning. He was pointing from the beginning to the fact that Jesus was going to be dead on Saturday, and then he was going to rise again. And there was another thing I wanted to point out, and I totally forget what it was. But this is a very long chapter, so I'll move along. The Pharisees, this whole chapter is just full of the Pharisees just kind of really getting at it with Jesus, and they're like scheming against him. And so there's this other part in this chapter here where the Pharisees basically plant this guy. I don't know if they put him there, if they found him, they're like, hey, get Jesus, you know, but they're with Jesus. And they're saying, hey, there's this guy here on the Sabbath, and, you know, is it right to heal someone on the Sabbath? You know, so this guy's with the withered hand, and that, you know, they see him, and they're really just trying to get Jesus. They're like, is he gonna heal his hand? And Jesus is like, well, you know, yes, I am. And so he heals the guy's hand, and he's like, you know, which one of you, if you had a donkey and it fell into a pit, you know, it was just about to die, would you not get the donkey out of the pit on the Sabbath? And his point is it right to do good things on the Sabbath? And he's saying, absolutely. You know, he mentions in this chapter again something that he mentioned a couple days ago. I guess I never really noticed it, but Jesus keeps on saying, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. He's saying, I desire a relationship with people. I desire not to just receive mercy. I want to show mercy. I want the relationship of love between my people back and forth, and I don't just want your rituals. I don't care about it. So Jesus is saying, you know, I'm God, these are my rules. Don't try and trick me up in my own rules here. He's saying, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. And the Sabbath was made for me, to point you to me. So the last part of this chapter the Pharisees come up to him yet again, and they say, we want to see a sign. And Jesus says, this faithless generation wants to see a sign. They've already seen many of them. Even in this chapter, they've seen many of them. And he says, you know what? A faithless generation seeks for a sign, and no sign will be given to them, except for, he's kind of saying, except for, I will give you the sign of Jonah. In the same way that he was in the belly of the fish for 3 days, I'm going to be dead for 3 days. And as soon as that happens, then you'll know that I am the Christ. And I just can't believe that after seeing, in the beginning of the chapter, he heals this man's hand. He just healed him right in front of him. And then they're like, oh, let's go scheme, to have him killed. It just doesn't make much sense to me. Like, who else have you seen heal someone? Well, wouldn't you be afraid of someone who's so powerful that they can heal someone's hand? Or cast out a demon from someone who's mute and deaf? Or mute and blind? I just don't understand how how they could have such little faith. So, I know that was long. It's a very long chapter. That's Matthew chapter 12. All right, bye.